My beloved child, you have been caring for someone you love while slowly disappearing from your own life. Tonight, I want to meet you in the place where your strength has run thin. You may be sitting beside a bed, checking a monitor, listening for movement in the next room, or staring at a phone filled with appointment reminders. Your body is tired, but your mind is still on duty. Before this time is over, I want to help you name the burden you have been carrying, separate love from self-destruction, and choose one wise step toward rest and support. You do not have to solve the whole future tonight. You only need enough grace and clarity for the next faithful step. I see the details that other people miss. I see the pill organizer on the kitchen counter, the notes taped beside the refrigerator, the insurance forms waiting to be completed, and the alarm set for an hour when the rest of the house is asleep. I see how quickly you notice a change in breathing, a different tone of voice, a new symptom, or a look that tells you something is wrong. You have trained yourself to remain alert because someone depends on you. Even when the room is quiet, your nervous system does not believe the emergency is over. Your shoulders stay lifted, your jaw stays tight, your thoughts rehearse what could happen next. This kind of exhaustion is more than ordinary tiredness. It can make simple decisions feel heavy. It can make kindness harder to access, even when love is still present. It can make you forget why you walked into a room, resent a ringing phone, or feel tears rise because one more person has asked you for one more thing. Then guilt comes behind the exhaustion and accuses you. It tells you that a loving caregiver should never feel frustrated, should never need distance, and should never wish for a day that belonged to them again. Hear me clearly. Exhaustion is not evidence that your love has failed. A moment of frustration does not erase years of devotion. Wanting relief does not mean you want harm to come to the person you serve. Missing your former life does not make you ungrateful. You are grieving changes you did not choose, while still showing up for responsibilities you cannot ignore. Grief and love can live in the same heart. Relief and sadness can appear in the same moment. You do not need to condemn yourself for being human inside a painful season. There may be a grief beneath your daily tasks that no one has helped you name. Perhaps the person you love is still physically present, but illness has changed the way you relate. Perhaps memory is fading, personality is shifting, mobility is decreasing, or plans you once made together are no longer possible. Perhaps you are caring for a parent and feeling the roles reverse. Perhaps you are watching a spouse struggle and wondering what happened to the future you expected. Perhaps you are advocating for a child whose needs are constant and whose path is uncertain. This grief does not always receive a funeral, a sympathy card, or a clear beginning. It arrives in small losses, and then you are expected to keep functioning. I do not shame you for that grief. I do not ask you to pretend that every day feels meaningful or beautiful. Some days are sacred and tender. Other days are repetitive, messy, and painfully hard. Faith does not require you to call suffering easy. Faith gives you a place to bring what is true. You can tell me that you are angry. You can tell me that you are afraid. You can admit that you are tired of making decisions, tired of being needed, and tired of watching someone suffer. Honest prayer is not disrespect. It is relationship without disguise. You have heard people call you strong. They may say that they do not know how you do it. They may praise your sacrifice and then return to their own lives. Their words may be sincere, but they can leave you feeling trapped inside the role of the dependable one. Once everyone believes you are the strong one, it becomes difficult to say, I am not managing well. I need someone to take this seriously. I need help. You may fear that honesty will disappoint people or expose how close you are to your limit. In my presence, you do not have to perform strength. You are not a machine built to respond without rest. You are a person with a body, a mind, a history, and limits that deserve attention. Scripture says that your Father remembers that human beings are formed from dust. Your limits are not a design flaw. They are part of what it means to be a creature who receives life rather than produces it without end. Needing sleep, food, medical care, companionship, and moments of quiet is not selfishness. These are ordinary forms of stewardship. The central truth I want you to carry is this: rest is not abandonment, and asking for help is not a failure of love. Rest can be one of the ways love becomes sustainable. Help can be one of the ways my care reaches your home. A break does not cancel your commitment. A boundary does not erase compassion. Allowing another capable person to carry part of the work does not mean you have stopped caring. It means you have accepted the truth that no one person was meant to meet every need alone. You may resist this truth because the consequences feel real. You may think, that sounds comforting, but who will do what I do? Who understands the routine? Who will notice the small changes? What if I step away and something goes wrong? I will not dismiss those questions. Some caregiving situations are complicated. Some families are unreliable. Some systems are expensive, slow, or difficult to navigate. You may have asked for help before and been disappointed. Wisdom does not pretend those obstacles are imaginary. But disappointment does not mean isolation must become your permanent plan. Tonight, I am not asking you to surrender your discernment. I am asking you to loosen the belief that everything depends on your constant presence. There is a difference between being responsible and believing you must control every outcome. Responsibility asks, what is mine to do today? Control asks, how can I guarantee that nothing painful will ever happen? You can practice responsibility. You cannot carry the second question without being crushed by it. No caregiver can remove every risk, prevent every decline, or make every decision perfectly. Your task is faithful care, not total control. When I walked among the crowds, human need did not come in neat appointments. People pressed close, interrupted plans, called out from the roadside, and brought their pain into every place I entered. In the Gospel of Mark, there was a time when so many people were coming and going that my disciples did not even have an opportunity to eat. I did not look at their hunger and exhaustion and tell them to prove their devotion by working harder. I invited them to come away with me to a quiet place and rest. That invitation matters for you. The needs around you may be legitimate, and rest may still be necessary. Urgency does not erase your humanity. Compassion does not require endless availability. Even meaningful work can become harmful when there is no rhythm of recovery. You may not be able to leave for a long retreat. You may not have an entire day free, yet a protected hour, a shared task, a full meal, an uninterrupted shower, a walk outside, or one night of reliable relief can become part of the quiet place you need. You may feel that rest must be earned after everything is finished. But caregiving is rarely finished. There is always another load of laundry, another call, another medication, another form, another question, or another worry. If rest is allowed only when the work disappears, you will never receive it. Rest must sometimes be chosen while unfinished tasks remain. That can feel uncomfortable because it exposes the limits of your control. It also teaches you that the world can continue for a little while without your constant effort. Remember my invitation in Matthew chapter 11. I call the weary and burdened to come to me and receive rest. I describe my yoke as kind and my burden as light. A yoke joins lives together and establishes a shared pace. You have been trying to move at the pace of every demand, every fear, and every possible emergency. My pace is different. My pace includes attention, compassion, truth, and rest. It does not require panic as proof of love. To walk at my pace, you may need to release a belief that has sounded responsible, but is quietly harming you. No one else can do this correctly. Sometimes you do know more than anyone else. You have learned medication schedules, behavioral cues, dietary needs, mobility routines, and the small signs that matter. Your knowledge is valuable, but knowledge can be shared. Instructions can be written. Another person can learn. They may not do everything exactly as you do, and safe care does not always require exact imitation. Begin by distinguishing what truly requires your presence from what merely carries your habit. Some decisions may need you, some care tasks may require training, but grocery pickup may not. A meal may not. A phone call to an insurance office may not. A ride to an appointment may not. Sitting in the room for 2 hours may not. Cleaning the kitchen may not. Updating relatives may not. When every task is treated as equally dependent on you, your energy is spent before the most important work begins. Within the next 24 hours, take one sheet of paper or open one simple note on your phone. Write 3 headings. Only I can do. someone else can do, and a professional may need to do. Do not create a perfect system. Make an honest first draft. Then choose one item from the second or third category and take one action. Send one message, make one call, ask one person, search for one local resource. The goal is not to rebuild your entire life in a day. The goal is to interrupt isolation with one concrete movement. When you ask for help, be specific. General statements such as, "I am overwhelmed," may receive sympathy, but no action. A clear request gives another person a doorway. You might say, "Could you bring dinner on Tuesday? Can you sit with Dad from 2 to 4 on Saturday? Would you pick up these prescriptions?" Or, "Can you handle the family update this week?" Specific help is easier to accept and easier to give. Some people will still say no. Their refusal may hurt, especially if you have supported them in the past. Do not interpret one refusal as proof that you should never ask again. It may reveal that this person is not the right helper for this task. Ask someone else. Speak with a social worker, faith community, medical office, local agency, caregiver organization, or trusted professional who understands the kind of support available. Support systems vary, and not every option will fit, but you deserve accurate information before deciding that no help exists. Let other people contribute without demanding that they first understand every emotion you carry. Some will help practically, but struggle to say the right words. Some will listen well, but cannot provide hands-on care. Some may be able to offer money, transportation, meals, paperwork assistance, or a regular phone call. Receive help according to what each trustworthy person can actually give. Community does not always arrive through one perfect person. It can be built from several imperfect but dependable contributions. Scripture teaches my people to carry one another's burdens. That command is not only for the person who gives help, it also requires someone to let the burden become visible. Receiving care can feel more vulnerable than offering it. You may fear becoming indebted, judged, or exposed. You may worry that people will see the disorder in your house, the tension in your family, or the ways you are struggling. But hidden burdens grow heavier. Wise disclosure to safe people can create room for grace. You are not required to tell everyone everything. Discernment matters. Choose people who respect privacy, follow instructions, keep commitments, and do not use your vulnerability to control you. If the person you care for has medical or personal information that should remain private, protect it. Asking for support does not require abandoning boundaries. It means building a trustworthy circle, rather than carrying the whole weight in secret. There is another form of care you may have postponed for too long: care for your own body. You may organize every appointment for the person you love while canceling your own. You may track their symptoms carefully while ignoring headaches, back pain, changes in sleep, rising blood pressure, panic, depression, or exhaustion in yourself. You may believe you do not have time to become a patient because you are already the caregiver. But ignoring your health does not protect the person who depends on you. It increases the chance that both of you will face a crisis. Prayer can steady you, strengthen you, and help you act with wisdom. But prayer is not a substitute for appropriate medical or mental health care. If your symptoms are persistent, worsening, or affecting your ability to function, tell a qualified professional the truth. Do not minimize your condition because someone else appears to need more. Pain does not have to compete for permission to be addressed. Your body deserves care before it reaches an emergency. If you have been skipping medication prescribed for you, missing meals, driving while dangerously tired, or using alcohol or other substances to force your mind to shut down, bring that into the light. Shame will tell you to hide. Wisdom will tell you to seek support. A physician, therapist, counselor, recovery program, pastor with appropriate training, or trusted person can become part of a safer plan. You are not less faithful because you need skilled help. My grace is not threatened by good care. If you are so overwhelmed that you fear you may harm yourself, the person you care for, or someone else, do not remain alone with that crisis. Contact emergency services or a crisis professional and tell a trusted person immediately. If the home is unsafe because of violence, threats, abuse, or uncontrolled behavior, prioritize safety and professional guidance. Love does not require you to remain in immediate danger. A prayerful heart can still lock a door, leave a room, call for help, or follow a safety plan. You may need to hear this distinction. Compassion does not cancel boundaries. Illness can explain some behavior, but it does not make every behavior safe. Cognitive decline, pain, fear, and loss of independence can produce anger or confusion. You can respond with patience while also protecting yourself. A boundary may sound like, "I will help you, but I will not stay in the room while you insult me." It may mean calling another person when lifting is unsafe. It may mean refusing to give medication in a way that contradicts professional instructions. It may mean asking for an assessment when behavior changes suddenly. Forgiveness also does not mean unlimited access. You can release the desire for revenge without pretending trust has been restored. You can pray for someone and still require accountability. You can understand that harsh words came from pain and still admit that those words wounded you. You do not honor me by denying what happened. Truth and mercy belong together. I know the private resentment that can develop when care is given without relief. You may love the person deeply and still feel angry that your life has narrowed. You may resent siblings who visit briefly and offer advice. You may resent friends whose lives continue as yours becomes organized around appointments. You may even resent the person who needs you and then feel horrified by your own thoughts. Resentment is not healed by pretending it is absent. It must be named, understood, and redirected before it hardens. Often resentment is a signal that a limit has been crossed for too long, a need has gone unspoken, or responsibility has been distributed unfairly. It does not excuse cruelty. It does tell you to pay attention. Ask, what is this anger trying to show me? Perhaps you need sleep. Perhaps you need a conversation about shared responsibility. Perhaps you need grief counseling, respite care, or permission to stop doing one non-essential task. Bring the anger to me, then let it point you toward truth rather than shame. You may also carry regret for moments when you lost patience. Perhaps you spoke sharply. Perhaps you cried in front of the person you wanted to protect. Perhaps you walked away because you could not absorb one more demand. Take responsibility where responsibility is yours. Apologize when an apology is needed. Repair what can be repaired. Then refuse the lie that one painful moment defines your entire character. Conviction leads toward truth and repair. Condemnation circles the same failure until you believe you are beyond grace. Your identity is larger than your worst moment and larger than your caregiving role. You are not merely the person who manages medications, pays bills, changes sheets, makes calls, or keeps watch at night. You are my beloved. You have thoughts, gifts, relationships, and a life that still carries meaning. Some parts of that life may be quiet in this season. Some dreams may need to change. But your personhood has not been erased. Do not measure your worth by the progression of another person's illness. You cannot love dementia away. You cannot guarantee recovery from cancer, chronic pain, disability, addiction, or mental illness through perfect performance. You cannot control every medical outcome by being more vigilant. Their worsening condition is not automatic proof that you failed. Their difficult day does not mean your care was worthless. You can influence many things with wise action, but you are not the author of another person's body or lifespan. This truth may feel painful because control has given you a sense of purpose. If you release control, you may fear that only helplessness remains. But surrender is not helplessness. Surrender means doing what love and wisdom require while placing the final outcome beyond your own hands. It allows you to act without pretending that your action can guarantee the future. It creates room for grief, courage, consultation, and rest. Consider the words of the 23rd Psalm. The shepherd leads beside quiet waters and restores the soul. The path includes dark valleys, but the sheep are not abandoned there. Restoration is not presented as a reward for finishing every difficult task. It is part of the shepherd's care along the way. Let that image correct the pace you have accepted. You do not have to wait until the valley ends before receiving water. Choose one protected period of rest this week. Make it realistic enough to keep. It may be 30 minutes, 2 hours, or one night with another responsible person on call. Put it on the calendar. Tell the necessary people. Decide what qualifies as a true emergency. During that time, do something that lets your body come out of vigilance. Eat slowly. Walk outside. Sit in a quiet place. Attend worship without watching your phone every minute. Sleep. Speak with a friend about something other than caregiving. Rest is not only the absence of tasks, it is the return of your attention to the life inside you. At first, you may not feel peaceful. Your body may remain alert. You may check the time, imagine problems, or feel guilty. Do not call the attempt a failure. A nervous system, trained by months or years of vigilance, may need repeated experiences of safety before it settles. Begin gently. Breathe slowly. Notice the chair supporting you. Let your hands unclench. Name 5 things you can see. Remind yourself, for this moment, another responsible person is carrying the task. Receiving rest is a practice, not a test you must pass perfectly. Loneliness can remain, even when other people are physically near. You may spend the entire day speaking with doctors, relatives, pharmacists, aides, and the person you care for, yet feel that no one has asked how you are doing and waited for the honest answer. Your conversations may revolve around symptoms, schedules, and problems. You may miss being known as a friend, spouse, sibling, artist, worker, neighbor, or simply yourself. I understand the ache of carrying sorrow, while people nearby fail to stay awake to it. In Gethsemane, I asked those closest to me to remain near while I prayed, and they could not sustain their attention. I know what it is to face an agonizing hour and discover that human companions have limits. Their failure did not mean my sorrow was imaginary. It did not mean I had asked for too much. It revealed that even beloved people may not know how to remain present with pain. Some friends may have withdrawn because they feel helpless. Others may be uncomfortable with illness, disability, aging, or grief. Some relatives may criticize because advice is easier than participation. Their limitations can wound you, but they do not define your worth or the legitimacy of your need. You do not have to spend your remaining energy convincing every distant observer that your work is difficult. Direct that energy toward people and systems capable of meaningful support. One practical boundary may be to stop providing constant updates to everyone. Choose one method and one schedule. You can ask a trusted relative to send a weekly message, use a private group, or tell family members when updates will be available. You are not obligated to answer the same questions repeatedly while trying to manage care. Protecting your attention is not rudeness. It is stewardship. Another boundary may involve unsolicited advice. You can say, "I appreciate your concern. We are following the care plan from the medical team." You can say, "What would help most is a meal or a 2-hour visit." You can say, "I cannot discuss that decision again today." Clear words may feel uncomfortable if you have spent your life keeping peace, but resentment often grows where honest limits are never spoken. If relatives disagree about care, money, housing, or end-of-life decisions, do not carry those conflicts alone. Seek appropriate professional guidance. A medical social worker, care manager, counselor, mediator, attorney, financial professional, or faith leader with relevant training may help clarify roles and options. Spiritual encouragement is not a replacement for qualified legal, medical, or financial advice. Wisdom is willing to consult people who understand the decisions at hand. Financial strain can intensify every other burden. You may be reducing work hours, paying for supplies, navigating benefits, or wondering how long your resources will last. Fear may urge you to avoid opening bills or to make desperate decisions. Bring the fear into prayer, then seek accurate information. Make a simple list of urgent obligations, available benefits, questions for providers, and people qualified to advise you. Do not assume that asking for assistance is shameful. Do not trust promises of guaranteed money, miraculous debt cancellation, or risk-free investments. Hope can live beside a careful budget and an honest conversation. You also need at least one relationship where you are not expected to be the expert. Find a person with whom you can speak without managing their reaction. This may be a counselor, support group member, pastor, mature friend, or another caregiver. You need a place to say, "I love them, and I am angry. I am grateful, and I am grieving. I want to help, and I need a break." A safe listener will not force those truths into a simple answer. Caregiver support groups can be valuable because they reduce the need to explain every detail. Others may understand the strange combination of vigilance, tenderness, boredom, fear, and guilt, yet choose wisely. A group should not pressure you to reject medical care, accept abuse, or treat exhaustion as a spiritual failure. Healthy support increases clarity, dignity, and practical wisdom. There may be another fear beneath your reluctance to accept help. The fear that if someone else can do part of the work, your role will lose meaning. Caregiving may have consumed so much of your identity that being needed has become the clearest proof that you matter. This does not make your love false. It does mean your heart needs a wider foundation. You matter before you complete a task. You matter when someone else takes the shift. You matter when the person you serve is asleep and no one is praising you. Your value is received from me, not negotiated through usefulness. Your life may look different from what you planned, but it is not over. You may not have the energy to recover every former activity. Begin with one small piece of personhood. Read a few pages of a book. Listen to music that belongs to your own memories. Step outside in the morning light. Call someone who knows more about you than the current crisis. Return to a creative practice for 10 minutes. These acts are not trivial. They remind your mind that caregiving is part of your life, not the whole definition of your existence. You may wonder whether it is wrong to experience joy while someone you love is suffering. It is not. Joy does not mock their pain. Laughter does not mean you have forgotten them. A peaceful hour does not betray a difficult diagnosis. Human hearts can hold sorrow and beauty together. Let a good meal taste good. Let sunlight feel warm. Let a funny story make you laugh. These moments do not subtract from compassion. They help keep compassion from becoming only anguish. There will still be difficult days. A new symptom may appear. A plan may fail. The person you care for may refuse help. A relative may disappoint you. Rest does not guarantee that the situation will become easy. Asking for help does not guarantee that everyone will respond well. Faith does not promise that every medical report will change. What faith can give you is a way to face reality without surrendering your dignity, wisdom, or hope. When uncertainty rises, return to 3 questions. What is true right now? What is mine to do next? Who can help me do it safely? These questions bring your mind back from 100 imagined futures to the present responsibility. Perhaps what is true is that you are exhausted. What is yours to do may be to call the doctor, cancel a non-essential obligation, or ask someone to come over. The helper may be a sibling, neighbor, professional, or emergency service. Clarity often comes one question at a time. You do not need tomorrow's complete plan tonight. You need a truthful assessment, a wise next step, and permission to receive care. The future remains uncertain, but uncertainty is not the same as abandonment. I will meet you in consultation rooms, difficult conversations, quiet kitchens, and long nights. My presence does not remove the need for action. It gives you courage to take action without believing you must control the result. Now let us slow down. You do not have to force yourself to feel calm. Simply notice that you are here. Feel the surface beneath you. Let your feet rest if they can. Lower your shoulders by one small degree. Unclench your hands. If a deep breath is comfortable, breathe in slowly, then let the breath leave without pushing. If deep breathing is uncomfortable, breathe normally and allow my words to carry the pace. Name the burden honestly. You may say within your heart, I am tired. You may say, I am afraid of what comes next. You may say, I am angry that so much has fallen on me. You may say, I love this person, and I cannot continue in the same way. Truth is not the enemy of faith. Truth is where grace meets you. Now identify the fear beneath the noise. Is it the fear that the person you love will decline? The fear that money will run out? The fear that other people will judge you? The fear that if you rest, a crisis will happen? The fear that no one will come when you ask? You do not have to solve the fear. Give it a name. A named fear can be brought into prayer. An unnamed fear often controls the room. Listen to this grounded assurance. You are responsible for faithful choices, not guaranteed outcomes. You can prepare without predicting everything. You can love without becoming the savior. You can seek help without surrendering your dignity. You can rest without abandoning your responsibility. Repeat quietly, if these words are helpful. Rest is not abandonment. Receiving help is an act of wisdom. My worth is not measured by my exhaustion. Let that truth reach the part of you that still argues. Perhaps a voice says, "But they need me." Yes, they may need you, and that is one reason your well-being matters. Another voice may say, "No one understands." Perhaps no one understands everything, but someone may be able to carry one task. Another voice may say, "I should be stronger." Strength is not the refusal to have limits. Strength includes the courage to tell the truth before collapse makes the decision for you. Think now of one task you can release. Do not choose the entire burden. Choose one piece. Picture yourself writing the message, making the call, or speaking the request. Make the request clear. Give the other person a specific way to respond. If the first answer is no, let the next step be to ask again elsewhere rather than return immediately to silence. Think also of one need in your own body that deserves attention. It may be sleep, food, pain, medication, a checkup, counseling, or time away from constant vigilance. Decide what action belongs with that need. A prayer for strength may lead to an appointment. A prayer for peace may lead to a boundary. A prayer for provision may lead to a benefits counselor, a budget, or a conversation you have delayed. Grace often becomes visible through practical obedience. Now I want to guide you into prayer. The words that follow are not a formula and do not guarantee a particular medical or personal outcome. They are a way to place your real life before your Father in heaven. You may listen, repeat the words, or let them become your own. Father in heaven, I come to you without pretending that I am stronger than I am. You know the person I love, the responsibilities I carry, and the fears I have not known how to express. You know the interrupted sleep, the decisions, the physical work, the changing relationships, and the grief hidden inside ordinary routines. I bring all of it to you now. I confess that I have sometimes treated exhaustion as proof of love. I have believed that resting would make me selfish, that asking for help would make me weak, or that every outcome depended on my constant effort. Forgive me for carrying a role that does not belong to me. Teach me the difference between faithful responsibility and the illusion of control. Thank you that my limits do not surprise you. Thank you that I do not need to earn your compassion by reaching a breaking point. Help me receive my body as a life to steward, not an obstacle to ignore. Give me humility to eat, sleep, seek medical care, receive counseling, take prescribed treatment, and follow wise guidance when I need it. Bring clarity to the responsibilities before me. Show me what truly requires my attention, what can wait, what can be shared, and what should be handled by someone with professional training. Protect me from making every task equally urgent. Give me a calm mind for the next decision and patience when answers take time. Give me courage to ask for specific help. Bring trustworthy people who respect boundaries and follow through. Open my eyes to community resources, respite options, support groups, medical social workers, counselors, and practical assistance that may be available. When someone cannot help, keep disappointment from becoming permanent isolation. Lead me to the next appropriate person. Give wisdom to the doctors, nurses, therapists, aides, caseworkers, counselors, and family members involved. Help us communicate clearly. Where there is confusion, bring understanding. Where there is conflict, help us speak truth without cruelty. Where an urgent decision is required, help us seek qualified guidance rather than act from panic. I bring you the person I care for. You know their body, mind, fears, pain, and needs more fully than I do. Give them comfort and appropriate care. Help me love them as a person, not only manage them as a set of tasks. Protect their dignity. Help me listen when listening is possible. Set boundaries when boundaries are necessary, and call for help when a situation is beyond what I can safely handle. Father, meet me in the grief I have postponed. I grieve what illness has changed. I grieve the future I expected, the conversations I miss, the freedom that has narrowed, and the parts of myself that have gone quiet. Help me mourn without losing hope. Help me recognize that sorrow and gratitude can share the same heart. I bring you my anger and resentment. I do not want these feelings to harden into contempt, but I will not hide them from you. Show me what they are revealing. If I need rest, help me protect it. If a responsibility is unfairly distributed, give me words for an honest conversation. If I need counseling or support, give me courage to seek it. Keep my anger from controlling my actions, and keep shame from silencing the truth. I bring you the moments I regret, where I have spoken harshly, acted carelessly, or wounded someone. Lead me toward apology and repair. Where I have taken responsibility for things I could not control, release me from false guilt. Teach me to learn without condemning myself. Let conviction produce change, and let grace keep failure from becoming my identity. Heal the wounds caused by criticism, ingratitude, and misunderstanding. When others offer opinions without help, give me wisdom to answer or remain silent. When friends do not know how to stay near, lead me toward people who can. When the person I care for speaks from fear, pain, confusion, or illness, help me respond with compassion without accepting unsafe treatment. Guard my home with wisdom. If there is danger, give me the clarity to leave, call emergency services, or seek professional support. If I am reaching a point where I might harm myself or another person, help me tell someone immediately and receive urgent care. Free me from the belief that secrecy is spiritual strength. Let safety, truth, and support become part of my faithfulness. I place financial fears before you. Help me face numbers honestly, ask informed questions, and avoid desperate promises. Lead me to legitimate assistance and qualified advice. Give me patience with forms, phone calls, delays, and decisions. Provide daily bread through honest means, caring people, available resources, and wise stewardship. Keep me from confusing hope with a guarantee about how or when provision will come. I release the future I cannot control. I cannot guarantee a cure, prevent every decline, or know the timing of every change. I cannot carry tomorrow's emergencies inside tonight's body. Give me grace for today, and wisdom when tomorrow arrives. Teach me to prepare without living in constant rehearsal of disaster. Restore the parts of my identity that caregiving has covered. Remind me that I am more than a schedule, a diagnosis, a crisis manager, or a dependable name on everyone's phone. Help me remember the gifts, relationships, interests, and callings giving has prescience you have placed within me. Show me one small way to return to life without abandoning the person I love. Bless the protected period of rest I will choose. Help me arrange it responsibly and receive it without apology. If my body remains tense, teach it slowly that rest can be safe. If sleep does not come easily, let quiet still be restorative. Help me put down the phone, release non-urgent tasks, and allow another trustworthy person to carry the watch for a while. Father, teach me the pace of Jesus. He welcomed people with compassion, and he also withdrew to pray. He served without making human need the master of every moment. Help me follow that pattern. Make my love patient, truthful, sustainable, and free from the need to prove itself through destruction. For this next breath, I release my shoulders. For this next moment, I let the chair, bed, or floor support me. I do not have to hold my whole life in my muscles. I receive the truth that rest is not abandonment. Asking for help is not failure. A boundary can protect love. A wise next step can be an act of faith. When morning comes, help me do one concrete thing. I will write the 3 categories: what only I can do, what someone else can do, and what a professional may need to do. I will choose one task to share. I will make one request. I will address one need in my own body. I will not demand that one day solve everything. I will begin. If the request is refused, help me try another door. If guilt rises, help me answer it with truth. If the day becomes difficult, remind me that a difficult day does not erase a wise decision. If I lose patience, lead me back to repair. If I become afraid, return me to what is true, what is mine to do, and who can help me do it safely. I entrust the person I love to your care, without pretending that trust removes my responsibility. I will continue to love, learn, communicate, and act. I will also release the belief that I must be everywhere, know everything, and prevent every painful outcome. Only you are God. I am your child, and I am allowed to receive care. Let peace come without pressure. I do not need to manufacture a spiritual feeling. I can simply remain here, breathing, listening, and telling the truth. Hold me in the uncertainty. Strengthen me for the next faithful action. Surround me with wise support. Preserve tenderness in me, without allowing tenderness to become self-erasure. Tonight, I lay down the title of hero. I do not need to impress anyone with how much I can survive. I choose honest love over exhausted performance. I choose community over hidden collapse. I choose stewardship over neglect. I choose one faithful step rather than 1,000 fearful predictions. Thank you for meeting me in this room, in this season, and in this unfinished story. Thank you that I can come weary, conflicted, and uncertain. As I rest, help me remember the truth that began this prayer and will guide me when I rise. Rest is not abandonment, and receiving help is not a failure of love. Amen. If this devotional gave words to what you have been carrying, write, "Rest is not abandonment," in the comments, as a reminder to yourself and encouragement to another caregiver. Like this video if the prayer helped you breathe more freely, subscribe for more grounded Christian devotionals, and share it with someone who may need permission to receive support today.